Getting started with WordPress 2, adding content to pages and posts. In the previous video, we talked about picking out a theme to use in a WordPress website, and we talked about customizing the appearance of the website to an extent. In this video, we will focus more on creating pages and adding content to a page. Video 2 in this series was originally scheduled to be about creating child themes, but we will make that the final installment of the series since it is the most complicated topic that we're going to discuss, especially if you do not walk into the topic with the background in coding with CSS. In this tutorial, we will discuss the following topics. 1. Creating pages and posts. 2. Adding content to a page using blocks. The content will include a discussion of paragraphs, headings, lists, tables, columns, buttons, spacers, page separators, which are basically like horizontal bars, page breaks, and links/anchors. 3. Previewing your edits before making a save. 4. Saving your pages, either publishing or saving as a draft. 5. Arranging blocks on the page. 6. Using the settings for your block. 7. Adding media to your page. 8. Editing the php.ini file to help you upload larger files. 9. Adding a plugin for the classic editor. 10. Page visibility. 11. Using the code editor and the visual editor. 12. Setting a publish date. 13. Editing the main menu. Let's get started. Preliminary matter. If you are using WordPress or XAMPP on your computer, then open a browser and type in localhost/WordPress. This will take us to the home page. If you need to log in, then type localhost/WordPress/wp-login. Or you can type in wp-admin instead of wp-login. Typing in either term will take you to the login screen. Add your username and password and press enter. One other thing that I want to do before we really dive into this lesson is change my WordPress theme to the 2021 theme. The 2021 theme has a few extra features that the 2020 theme doesn't have. So let's just go ahead and upgrade our theme. In your dashboard, click Appearance. You will be on the Themes page. Click Add New and do a search for 2021. As you can see, I already have it installed and I have it activated. So just simply choose the theme that you want to use and click Activate. But for the rest of this tutorial, I will be using the 2021 theme. Creating pages and posts. We discussed this topic already, but you can simply click the Pages tab in the dashboard's main menu, then click the Add New button. In addition, you can click the Posts tab and the Add New button. What you do with pages and posts is up to you. I would recommend using pages to A. Share important information that you need everyone to see, and B. Allow people to communicate with you, such as by a contact form or a forum. I would use posts like more of a newsletter, where I would share news, important updates, promote upcoming events, share summaries of previous events, tell stories, share meeting minutes, and so on. You might choose to allow comments on posts, but do so at your own discretion. You can turn commenting on and off and set rules for who can comment by 1. Going to your dashboard. 2. Clicking Settings in the left-hand column. 3. Clicking Discussion in the submenu. 4. Checking or unchecking all of the options that appeal to you. I would say it's a good idea to either make people fill out their name and email or register for an account before they can comment. It is also a good idea to require comments to be manually approved before they can appear on your posts. And 5. Click the Save Changes button at the bottom of the page. blog posts will appear on whichever page you designate as being the posts page. The post page basically indexes your blog posts, showing the newest posts first. So the first thing you want to do is go to your dashboard. Click Settings in the left-hand column. Click Reading in the sub-menu. You can choose a page to contain your posts in the Post Page drop-down menu. You can also decide if you want your post page to show full-length posts or just a teaser, so people will have to click a link to read a full post. You will want to use the second option more often than not. If you make a lot of posts for your blog, then allowing people to scroll and just see a small summary will allow them to more easily pick and choose what they want to read. If people are seeing a series of long posts, it will take a lot longer for them to get an idea of all that your blog has to offer. So I would say it's better to put smaller bite-sized chunks of information on one page and let people follow through to get more information. Click Save Changes when you decide how you want your post page to look. We will come back to this later after you have an opportunity to create a few posts. Adding content to a page using blocks. Now that you know how to create a page, go ahead and make one, and you should be on this screen. Let's add some content to the page and see what we can do by default without adding any plugins. The first thing that I will do is add a title. Let's call the page Guitar Model Index, since I like guitars. We'll make a page about guitars that we are going to sell on our website. Now I can just click below this horizontal line and start typing, or I can click the black box with a plus sign and see some of the most frequently used blocks. Blocks are essentially self-contained spaces that you're putting on the page or post, and these spaces can be filled with text, images, tables, lists, or some other content that you want to include on your website. If we are making a guitar store website, then we might want the guitar model index page to have tables with the major guitar manufacturers and the guitar models that we will have in inventory or that we will be acquiring in the near future. So we could add tables, lists, images of guitars, and some text to describe the guitars. Click the Add Block button and choose Paragraph. Write a message about this being the best guitar store in the world. I will paste lorem ipsum text just to save time. This is basically mangled Latin, if I'm not mistaken. You can go to ipsum.com to have some of the text generated for you. When I click the text, I get a menu bar that can help me make alterations to the text. For instance, let's double click the first line where I'm stating that this is the best guitar store in the world. Double click the sentence to highlight all of the text. Let's make this bold and italicized. Now let's go to the start of the sentence and hit enter to start a new block above it. Let's create a section heading. Click the space above the text, click the Add Block button, and click Browse All. Now click Heading in the left-hand column. First, I'll type Great Guitars. Now click this header and look at the menu. Click the H2 to make it an H1 or one of the other header sizes. I'll stick with H1 for now. Click the Move Up button until it is at the top of the page. You can also click and hold the drag block region. It's these 6 dots in a grid. You use this to drag different blocks around on the page. Let's add another header and type Great Amplifiers. Let's repeat and type Great Guitar Pedals. Let's cheat and just copy a paragraph from above and put them in between the different headings. So now you get the general idea for how to use paragraphs and headings to help differentiate the sections and show the topic is changing. Pictures. Let's add some pictures of guitars. Here's one that I took from php.ini. They offer high quality images that you can use for free, but you must check the license. Many websites have pictures showcased, so you'll click them and be taken to another website, while you'll have to purchase the picture that you like. So it's important to check the license to make sure you follow the rules as for whether you must give credit to the photographer, link back to the source where you found the image, pay a fee if you want to use the media for any commercial purposes, and so on. Click the Add Block button, Browse All button, and find Image. Click the Upload button since we don't have anything in the media library just yet. As a side note, I suggest that you do not use the Insert from URL option. This is called hot linking, which basically means that the image is not being hosted on your website, but yet you're using it on a page. An external image can be deleted, and then your page or post is missing content that you wanted there. Some image hosting websites can change their terms of agreement and break links or close free accounts, which is something that I experienced with Image Shack about a decade ago. So I suggest uploading images to your website rather than hot linking images. Videos, on the other hand, I would prefer to embed from my own YouTube channel, since videos can easily take up a lot of space on your server. After clicking Upload, look for the image that you want to include and click the Open button. On the right hand side of the screen, I suggest you add alt text, which would be a short description of the picture. Alt tags help people with screen readers to get a description of the pictures that are included on a page. Alt tags similarly can help people who have set their browser to not load any pictures or videos by default. If you want to add a caption for your image that everyone can see, click the Write Caption area and add a message. I always recommend including alt text to help make your website accessible to everyone, but the choice of including captions is up to you. On the right hand side of the page, experiment with some of the features. You can make the image rounded or add a border around it if you want. This is something that I normally do in Photoshop or GIMP, since WordPress makes the images too round, whereas I like to have softly rounded corners and maybe a drop shadow with pictures. When I click the image size drop down menu, the image looks distorted on the page, but it will look a lot better if you preview the image in a new tab. We'll discuss previewing later in this video. I only adjust the image dimensions in an art program like Photoshop or GIMP because I want the image to maintain its proportions. Do not stretch or warp an image by making it wider without making it taller, and vice versa. Using the percentages is a safer bet because it keeps the image proportions. Click Advanced for more options. I don't use the title attribute. HTML anchor allows you to turn a picture into an anchor. We will discuss anchors in the linking section of the video, but basically, you can add a link to an anchor anywhere on your website, and it will take you to the page and a section of the page that has an anchor, so you don't have to just follow a link that takes you to the top of a specific page. Additional CSS classes is a field we will discuss in the final video of the series. You can use it to apply additional CSS code to your image if I'm not mistaken. I have not used it before. I usually apply CSS the hard way, so this might be a shortcut for adding a CSS tag to an image. We also have options for editing the image simply by clicking it and looking at the menu that appears above the image. So for instance, you can change the alignment. You can make the image into a link that goes to another page by copying and pasting a URL into the text box here. Click the drop arrow for more options. The link rel value is something that I don't really use. You can go to W3 Schools at the link on the screen to learn more about the values that you can add here. If you're linking to anything outside of your website, then I recommend using the Open in a New Tab option. The crop tool is interesting, but I prefer editing media with art software. You can change the aspect ratio of your image by clicking the aspect ratio button. Click the three dots at the end of the toolbar for more options to explore on your own. Gallery. If you want an image gallery, click the Add Block button and choose Gallery. Click Upload and add every image that you want to include. Click the gallery and then the Upload button to keep adding more images from different folders. For columns, use the slider to determine how you want your images to appear on the page. I have 3 columns by default. Just experiment and figure out a layout that you like. Also experiment with the image size drop-down menu in relation to the number of columns that you use. Full size and 1 column looks pretty good. Thumbnails with 3 columns looks good as well. Let's click Media Library. Click Edit Gallery in the pop-up window. Click every image and add alt text. Unfortunately, we can't make each individual image in a gallery link to another page without adding a plugin. WP Gallery Custom Links is a good plugin that works. You will have to add custom links through the media library when using that plugin. Video. If you want to link to a YouTube video, you can click the Add Block button, Video, Insert from URL, and paste the URL for a YouTube video. If you want to upload and host your own video, then click Upload, find the video that you want to post on your computer, and click Open. WordPress has a default video player. You can play, pause, adjust the volume, and make the video full screen. If you want more options for a video player, then you will have to experiment with different plugins. I think the default video player is sufficient for most purposes. Lists. Click the Add Block button and look for List. You have the option of choosing between a bullet list and a numbered list. Use the indent buttons if you want to move list items over to the left or right. Indenting over to the right is how you can have a list with sub-items that fall below an item in the main list. If you are using an ordered list that is a numbered list, I am not aware of a way to indent over to the right and then switch to using letters for sub-items. We can do this with code, but not easily from the toolbar or the settings panel on the right-hand side of the page. If you don't want your ordered list to start with number 1, then you can add a start value in the settings panel. If you want space between items in a list, click the end of the list, hold down the Shift key on your keyboard, and hit Enter. Tables. Tables are great for organizing content into a grid. Click the Add Block button and look for Table. Let's make a table with 4 columns and 3 rows, and then click Create Table. Click the Edit Table button in the menu bar to add or remove rows and columns. Turning on the header section setting is a good way to add a label above each column. Turning on the Fixed Width Table Cells setting is good when you first get started adding content into the table. Otherwise, the columns will collapse until you add content into them if you leave it off. There aren't enough settings for changing the background color of different rows, columns, or cells. You can use the stripes style, but that gets rid of the borders by default, which you may want to keep. There also isn't an easy way to merge cells, rows, or columns. I consider the lack of options for editing tables to be the biggest shortcoming so far. Click the 3 vertical dots at the end of the toolbar and click Edit as HTML. This way you can make the table appear the way we want with code, but that can be time consuming compared to just having more options in the toolbar. We'll have to look for a plugin to help us add extra features to the WordPress toolbar. Columns. Columns are a good way of organizing content without using tables. Click the Add Block button and look for columns. Let's try the 3070 orientation. Now click the plus sign in the smaller column to decide what content you want to appear on the page. We could have a picture, and then in the larger column, we could have text that sits alongside the picture to describe it. It's just an alternative way to have your caption beside the image rather than below it. You have a lot of options for how you can arrange content on your page using the columns feature. Buttons. Buttons are just a way to navigate around the site. You can turn them into links, but I'm not sure how you can get them to trigger activities unless you get into programming, but that's something that's beyond the scope of this tutorial. Click the Add Block button and look for buttons. Use the settings panel to edit the color, make the button's corners curve, and cause links to open in a new tab. Spacers. Use spacers as a way to add a gap of blank space between blocks on your page. Click the Add Block button and look for spacers. Use the settings panel to adjust the height of the gap. Page separators. Use the page separator to add a horizontal line on the page. It's just a way to add a distinction between different sections on your page. Click the Add Block button and look for separator. Use the settings panel to choose between having a thick or thin line or dots. You can also set the color. The dots are very thin and there are only 3 that appear on the page, so it's not a great option. If you want to further customize the horizontal line, you will have to use CSS. Page breaks. You can put page breaks anywhere on your page, and everything after the break will appear on a subpage. The bottom of each page will have links to the other subpages to help with navigation. The subpages will not appear in your menu by default. I would argue that linking to the main page in your main menu would be sufficient. Click the Add Block button and look for the page break icon. Place the page breaks in between content on your page. Click the Preview button in the top right corner of your page and click Preview in New tab. Close the tab or just go back to the original tab when you're done. As you can see, the links to the subpages are at the bottom of each page. Links and anchors. There isn't a block for adding links. You can incorporate links into most of the blocks above. Just add text, highlight whatever you want to be a link, click the link icon in the menu bar, and type or paste in the URL that you want to use as a link. I always recommend opening links in a new tab when you are sending traffic away from your website. We discussed anchors earlier, but they are used to send the reader to a specific point on your page. For instance, you might have an anchor for a section in the middle of a page. Rather than asking readers on another page to follow a link to the start of a different page, and then scroll down, you can send them directly to that section of the page. Click almost any block on your page and click Advanced in the Settings panel. Use the HTML anchor field to give your anchor a name. Now, create a link anywhere else on the page and then type in the URL for the page, a hashtag, and the name of the anchor in the URL field. This will take you to that anchor. You only need the hashtag and the anchor name if you are linking to something on the same page. Special note: just be sure to write the names of all your anchors somewhere to keep track of what is on each page. Classic Editor. If you want to write multiple paragraphs with an easier interface, then use the Classic Editor block. Click the Add Block button and look for the Classic Editor icon. This will let you write paragraphs with lists, block quotes, headings, and media with less stress. Alternatively, there is a Classic Editor plugin that gets us out of the blocks view and back into classic WordPress from a few years ago. 1. Go to your dashboard. 2. Click Plugins. 3. Click Add New. 4. Search for the Classic Editor. 5. Install the Classic Editor plugin and activate it. This plugin is not perfect. Some things that you make in the block editor will not look correct in the Classic Editor. Be sure to go to the settings for the Classic Editor and make it possible for users to switch back and forth between it and the blocks editor. Open a page to edit. Click the options icon in the top right corner, the 3 vertical dots. Choose Switch to Classic Editor. You can click the Switch to Block Editor link if you do not like this plugin, or if you just want to switch back and forth between editing screens. Previewing your edits. Click the Preview tab in the top right corner of your screen. I always recommend previewing in a new tab because the other options just show you things in the editing screen with different page widths. It's not quite the same as seeing the site from the front end. Private pages can only be seen by admins and editors. You can assign those roles to specific members of your website. Saving your pages. Click the Save Draft button in the top right corner often. Click the Publish button once you are ready to make the page or post live. For visibility, click Public to toggle a menu that allows you to publish a private page or post, or a password-protected page or post. Click the Publish date if you want to schedule a time in advance for your page or post to come out. Click the Discussion tab if you want to allow people to leave comments at the bottom of your page or post by clicking the Allow Comments checkbox. Page Attributes allows you to determine the ranking of the page in the menu. I believe it's easier to just go to Appearance and Menus and then edit the menus there. We will discuss this at the end of the tutorial. Editing the php.ini file to help you upload larger files. Click your WAMP server icon, hover over PHP, then click the php.ini tab. Do a search for upload_max_file size. Set the file size from 2 megabytes, the default, to whatever file size you need to upload into WordPress. For instance, if you have a 2 gigabyte video that you want to upload, then you will have to set the file size a little higher than that to be safe. Next, look for post_max_size. Set the post max size from 8 megabytes, the default, to whatever file size you need to display on the page. If you have a 2 gigabyte video that you want to show, then you will have to set the post max size a little higher than that to allow for the massive video. Again, this is why it is better to embed video from YouTube or another video sharing platform. An alternative way to get to php.ini is to go to your WAMP64 folder, bin, Apache, Apache 2.4.41 or whatever version you are using, bin, and then you should see the php.ini file. If you are using a web host rather than a web server, you can adjust the file sizes by looking for or creating an htaccess file. Here is a link to a tutorial for that. Editing the main menu. Now that we have a new page that we published, or at least I presume you published it by now, let's go ahead and add it to the menu. Go to the dashboard. Click Appearance and Customize. Click Menus. Click Main Menu. Click Add Items. I can add my new page here on the right side of the screen, or remove pages by clicking the red X on the left side of the screen. To make menu items sub-items of another page, click the tab and drag it to the right. Drag it back to the left to stop it from being a subpage. Click the Publish button to save any changes. Also, it's really important to make sure that primary menu has a checkbox next to it. unless you don't want to have a menu in the top corner of your website. Conclusion. We covered too much to review in a short amount of time, but basically you have a good idea of how to add content to a page or post. You also have a refresher on how to add pages to your menu. Keep in mind that you can learn everything there is to know about using WordPress, but the key to building a website is to go in with a plan for all the pages that you want and all the content that you want on each page. This means that you should be doing a lot of planning before you can really make a site that you will love. In the next video, we will talk about adding plugins and using widgets in more detail. I will make some recommendations for plugins that can help you with security, search engine optimization, and more. After that, we will get into creating a child theme and adding custom CSS, but I am also planning a video on planning out a website and making a wireframe, so stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching this video.